Hi guys, this is Pratishtha, your IELTS tutor, and in this lesson we are majorly going to focus on the reading section, which is going to be more complex and complicated and lengthy. So let us begin and see what are the criteria for today. So in this lesson, we will learn how to analyze complex passages. We will understand main ideas and details. That is something we'll focus on. And we'll engage in activities to improve comprehension and advanced texts, right? So we will move forward with advanced text. Why do you think you have the need to focus on complex passage? Again, to increase your reading skills. That is super important, especially when you're giving your IELTS exam. But in general, also, reading skills would really help you get to that level. Then you have strategies for analyzing complex passages. You need to skim. We have discussed all of this in the previous lessons as well. So I will just give you like a little bit of brief, but we will move forward to the exact thing that we have to do, right? So we'll skim for main ideas. We will identify the key information. So skimming is basically that, we will not read in detail. We will just skim, right? That is the first thing that you need to do. You need to identify where the key information is, which paragraph is storing the key information. And then we will analyze the sentence structure, right? What kind of sentence structure there is, what kind of, I would say, things are written. Is it firstly, is it like a reasoning? Is it a consequence? What is happening? And then we will sort of summarize after every paragraph. So we will skip this and we will try to see. Let me just share my screen to the main passage for now. Okay, so now you should spend about 20 minutes on question 14 to 26, right? So it's based on this reading passage and you have some questions. So what I would do is I would just go ahead and read the questions real quick. So you have which paragraph contains the following information. So you will talk about some information. You have to mark like the paragraphs are marked from A to G, and you have to tell that which information is being talked about in which paragraph. A description of how people misused a bike sharing scheme, an explanation of why a proposal was turned down, so when it was said no to, a reference to a person being unable to profit from their work, so we have to talk about when a person is being talked about, an explanation of the potential savings a bike sharing scheme would bring. So savings, we have to talk about that. A reference to the problem a bike sharing scheme was intended to solve. So what was it going to solve? So we have to talk about problems, right? So these are the things that we have to talk about. Then, which two of the following statements are made in the text about the Amsterdam bike sharing scheme? So this scheme, we will focus on that paragraph which is being talked about. Which two of the following statements are made in the text about Amsterdam today? So present day Amsterdam. And this is fill in the blanks. The first urban bike sharing scheme, and then it's like fill in the blank question. So we will come back to that. But our major focus for today is not solving questions, but rather talking about and see where we can see the information. So it is the growth of bike sharing schemes around the world. How Dutch engineer Lud Skimlepenik helped to devise urban bike sharing schemes. So in your exam, we will not focus if you have names like this. We can always just do it LS or something like that, just an acronym. He he was the one who devised urban bike sharing schemes. So the original idea for a bike sharing scheme dates back to a summer day in Amsterdam in 1965. Provo, the organization that came up with the idea, was a group of Dutch activists who wanted to change society. They believe in scheme which was known as the White Flits Plan was an answer to the perceived threats of air pollution and consumerism. So it is just the idea and some problems. Problems was air pollution and consumerism. In the center of Amsterdam, they painted a small number of used bikes white. They also distributed leaflets describing the dangers of cars and inviting people to use white bikes. The bikes were then left unlocked at various locations around the city to be used by anyone in need of transport. So the idea and problems. which is air pollution and consumerism. So LS, a Dutch industrial engineer who still lives and cycles in Amsterdam, was heavily involved in the original scheme. He recalls how scheme succeeded in attracting a great deal of attention, particularly when it came to publicizing Provost A, but struggled to get off the ground. But it was not able to, take off. The police were opposed to Provost's initiative as almost as soon as the white bikes were distributed around the city, they removed them. So the problems with the plan. However, for LS and bike sharing schemes in general, this was just the beginning. The first White Flames plan was just a symbolic thing, he said. We painted a few bikes white, that was all. Things got more serious when I became a member of the Amsterdam City Council 2 years later. So that was it. He seized this opportunity, where is it, to present a more elaborate Whittle Fleet's plan to the city council. My idea was, so now he proposed. So this was proposal. My idea was that the municipality of Amsterdam would distribute 10,000 bikes over the city for everyone to use, he explains. I made serious calculation. It turned out that a white bicycle per person per kilometer would cost the municipality only 10% of what it contributed to the public transport per person per kilometer. So it was just you don't have to like be fixated. Just know that this paragraph is talking about the new proposal, right? So I will just write, in fact, add new proposal. They rejected the plan. They said that the bicycle belonged to the past. They saw a glorious future for the cars, so that the bikes are in the past. So he never stopped believing in bike sharing, and in the mid-90s, two Danes asked for his help to set up a system in Copenhagen. The result was the world's first large-scale bike share program. It worked on deposit. You dropped a coin in the bike, when you returned it, you got your money back. After setting up the Danish system, Ellis decided to try his luck again. So, like once again, you can say this thing happened. Then, and this time he succeeded in arousing the interest of Dutch Ministry Transport. Times has changed, you recall. People had become more environmentally conscious, and so it was here in Dutch, like different location. So this new plan was launched. However, riding white bike was no longer free. So it was like price. It cost 1 guilder per trip, and payment was made with a chip card developed by the Dutch bank Postbank. So it was made by chip card. It would be opened with that chip card. So just like our normal bikes, we can just infer that, what could have happened, because now we have those electric bikes and everything. You either need an app, right? Because that time it was not that technologically advanced. You would know that, you just put a coin, you take it back, just like if you have ever been to Walmart or Costco or maybe, places like that. What you do is to take the card, which is free in India usually. We put a coin and we take that card and then we take the coin back. That's all. And that's how it unlocks. Right. So this was the same idea that happened. And yeah, then there was a person who was a system designer for the project. He worked alongside LS. Then, testing the bike cars, he announced that he had already designed better ones. But of course, we had to go through with the ones we had. The system, however, was prone to vandalism and theft. So what happened was vandalism. Vandalism means destroying public property, like scratching on it, pasting posters on it, etc. So this was the problems. After every weekend, there would be a couple of bikes missing. I have realized no idea what people did with them because they could instantly be recognized as white bikes. But the biggest blow came when Postbank decided to abolish the chip card, right? So problems was it was vandalism and theft and abolishing of chip card because it wasn't profitable. It was pivotal to the system. To continue the project, we would have needed to set up another system, but the business partner had lost interest, right? So it's talking about like probably a little bit of failure, right? He was disappointed, but characteristically not for long. In 2002, he got a call from the French Advertising Corporation, JC Deco, who wanted to set up his bike sharing scheme in Vienna. That went really well. After Vienna, they set up a long system in Lyon, and then in 2007, Paris followed. So here it's happening in France, right? This was a decisive movement in the history of bike sharing, the huge and unexpected success of Parisian bike sharing program, which now boasts more than 200,000 20,000 bicycles inspired cities all over the world to set up their own schemes. So now it was just financially modified, right? Um, he never filed for a patent, and that was it, that he was not financially, like, he did not earn anything on it. Now, in today's Amsterdam, so this passage, if you remember, we did a question about it. 38% of all trips are made by bike, and along with Copenhagen, it's regarded as one of the two most cycle friendly capitals in the world. But the city never got another Wit Fits plan. He believes that this may be because everybody in Amsterdam already has a bike. So people were buying bikes, right? And so why it was failing in modern day was that people owned bike. So again, I'm not going into too much of details. I'm just skimming through the passage. I'm just figuring out what the key details are, right? People who travel to the underground don't carry their bikes around, but they often need additional transport to reach their final destination. He thinks that it is strange that a city like Amsterdam does not have a successful bike sharing scheme. He is optimistic about the future. In 60s, it didn't stand a chance because people were prepared to give their lives to keep cars in the city, but that mentality has changed. Everybody longs for cities that are not dominated by cars. And that is pretty much it, right? So from letter A to G, which was talking about a description of how people misused bike sharing schemes. So if we go back and if we just have, everything in mind, we would remember vandalism and theft. This was misusing. So it's E. So I will just go down and write E. Why a bike sharing scheme was turned down. So I have to talk about why was it failed, right? So again, this was one of the paragraph E, and then why it was turned down, if I remember here. Yeah, they rejected the plan, right? That it belonged to the past. So it's C. I could instantly go down and make it out that, where this passage is talking about. Where are those passages where rejection has been given? A reference to a person being unable to profit from their work. So it's talking about he was not financially free. It's reference. So it's F. He was not able to profit from their work. An explanation of potential savings. So savings, it was again in where he was talking about just 10% of something happened. So here again, it's C. A reference to a problem a bike sharing scheme was intended to solve. So what was it intended? Intention means in the first place. It is in the first thing, first paragraph. Air pollution and consumerism. That is something that it intended to solve. So it's going to be A. And this is how quick and accurate you can become if you follow all of these steps and if you are able to read in depth. So, which two of the following statements are made in the text about the Amsterdam bike sharing scheme? It was initially opposed by a government department. Yeah, that's true. It failed when a partner in the scheme withdrew support. It never happened. It aimed to be more successful than Copenhagen scheme. So let's just go and take a look at Amsterdam. Think, where was it? Um, here it was. So 1999. Let me just look for keywords, right? 1999 and Amsterdam. So I found Amsterdam here, like Copenhagen is a part of it. And here, municipality of Amsterdam. So it is that part where it was talking about how it was turned down and everything. And it was okay, and then this Dutch ministry and all of that. Okay. So now I remember that this was the part, and now I can figure out that, this was launched here, 1999. I found this. So it's somewhere around C, D, and E passages, right? So I just need to focus on that. Now, if I remember, it was turned down because it was initially opposed by government department. It failed when a partner, it was not, it aimed to be more successful. No. It was made possible by a change in people attitude. It attracted interest from a range of bike designers. So let's just see. Alongside he announced already changed design better ones. So yeah, it was it had to be good, better than the previous ones. That is one of the things. Then so yeah, so there was a designer that was hired and it was better, but there were some problems. And when they took out the chip cards and Copenhagen, the world's largest credit was worked on deposit. Okay. All right. So let's see the points again. It was initially opposed by a government department. Not really. It failed when a partner in the scheme. Yeah, it failed because the post they took out that chip thing. It aimed to be more successful. Yeah, it aimed to be more successful. It was better. So yeah, all these are not true because it was not range of bike designers. There was just one. It does not talk about people's attitude as of now. It was later on in 2000s that people started changing. So these two are incorrect. And it was not opposed by government, right? It was in fact welcomed. Amsterdam today. The majority of residents would like to prevent all cars from entering city. No, it's not all cars. There is little likelihood of city having another bike sharing scheme. More trips in the city are made by bike than by any other form of transport. No, it's not. A bike sharing scheme would benefit residents who use public transport. It's not said that. A city has a rep. So yeah, it's one of the biggest cities. This is most likely. And there is little likelihood because after that nobody could make and come up with those kind of schemes. So basically, all in all, the whole purpose of this activity was that once you read and you skim through it, now you saw me, I was not reading in detail. I was just like sort of while reading I was making up stories. I was not remembering exact details, but I was underlining and I was writing a little bit, right? And I was not writing like paragraphs, right? I was just writing a small thing about it just on the side, just two or three things what this particular paragraph is talking about. And when I go to the questions, because I have read it, I have it all in my mind, right? And I'm just going there and I'm just ticking on the answers. And that is how fast you can get as well. Initially it would be a little bit difficult, but I would suggest read a couple of huge long paragraphs and passages by yourself, and you will start seeing the difference. And I would suggest you to practice a little bit more. I will suggest you to go through a lot of paragraphs, at least two or three, and just try to sort of summarize it in your head. Initially, just try to do it with a pencil or a pen and then just try to mark it down. But eventually, you will have a rough sheet. You can just write on it. I mean, there are all sorts of ways. And while we are doing these lessons, I mean, as we progress, we will see that there are more things as well. So, with that being said, that's it for today. I hope you're going to practice, and I will see you the next time.